All right, y'all, on today's episode, we are talking to Tori Clark. She's an incredible entrepreneur, someone that has done something that most couldn't do. And this was bring a business she inherited that had millions of dollars of debt into a point where it not only survived, but was thriving. She created an incredible outcome for herself and for her teammates, life-changing. From there, she would go on to sell that business and then get into the spa business. She's now the owner of Spa Luxe. Let's jump in. All right, team. I'm here with Tori Clark. I guess you were talking about government names. It's Victoria Clark. But
Yes.
Tori is what you go by. We met at a Texas Business Hall of Fame event, I guess a month or so back now, talking with the Terry Blacks folks.
Yep.
Man, immediately. It's so funny what happens with gravity and with energy and magnetism, but like her and I immediately, over some breakfast tacos, came together, and I was absolutely fascinated with your story. So we're going to dig into all that, but Tori, so good to have you in studio today.
Yeah, thanks for having me in, JC. I appreciate you.
You're most welcome. Well, and I, especially someone who calls Salado home, it kind of was like, that's my kind of person, man. Like, you might be doing all your business in Austin and stuff, but anybody who chooses to live in Salado or Wahlberg, or for people who don't know Texas and don't know Central Texas, if you know, and you live there. Otherwise, you don't know about those places, but they got so much character. So maybe we'll get into some pro tips of where to live that's not Austin.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
But let's kick off with kind of a little bit of a background story. One thing that got me just hooked as we were chatting was, you run these spas now. Spa Luxe is the company right now that you are growing and developing and really just changing the game. We'll talk about that. But I was fascinated with your early days background, right? And then also just kind of this comeback story in the bus industry. Before we talk to me about where you grew up. What was it like kind of coming up? And then let's talk about buses.
Sure. So I grew up in a little town that you have visited recently, Brenham, Texas.
Yeah.
And infamous for Bluebell ice cream, right? Half the town works for Bluebell. At least they did back then. So grew up in Brenham and graduated high school there. Post high school, did my undergrad at Texas Women's University, and then my graduate studies are at Baylor right now. But in the middle of my college years, my father passed away when I was 20, so that brought me back to the Austin area. And
To care for family, or you just decided, hey, I want to come back home?
yeah, so my grandparents owned the charter bus company, Clark Travel, that you mentioned, and my grandfather called me one day, and I'll add that my dad was a single parent, raised me single-handedly, and he was also an only child. So when my father passed away, that was a pretty big deal in my family. So my grandfather called me one day and he said, hey, I need help running this bus company. I can't do it by myself. And the grief and the emotional toll of losing their child, I mean, it was horrendous. So I came back at the end of my junior year to the Austin area to help them run Clark Travel, and been around the area ever since. Started taking off with Clark Travel and helped with that, and then took over ownership and grew it. Eventually married my amazing wife, Brittany. We have a little 5-year-old, Boston. We live in Salado now, as you mentioned. Moved there because it kind of reminds me of Brenham for about 40 years ago. And we're chugging along in the spa industry now. And it's been a ride.
It sounds like it.
Yeah,
and I know
been a
we were
ride.
just catching up a little bit on some of the twists and turns currently you're dealing with. Talk to me about, if you don't mind, I think when we were catching up, I know how important Dad is to you. Just obviously seems like that's, you both just kind of had each other. What were some of the things early on that you learned from him, and some of the things you carry with you now that kind of helps guide you day to day in what you do?
Oh, man. We could talk about that all day.
Let's do it.
My dad was a huge influence, and as a single parent, single parents, whether it's a dad or a mom, and growing up a kid of the 80s and 90s, having a single dad was completely abnormal. You just didn't see it. Any friends that I had in school who had a single parent, it was always a single mom. And we don't talk about the single dads very often. We didn't talk about them then. We don't talk about them much now. And I remember my dad's resilience. And particularly one day, we had fallen on some hard times, and my dad decided that he said, I need help. I need help putting food on the table to get through this transition time. And we walked in to get some assistance, and I think food assistance. And I sat in the chair waiting for him to get through the process. He walked up to speak to this lady behind the desk, and she said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "Yes, I'd like to apply for assistance." And she said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, lost my job. I'm a single dad, and I just need some help until I can start my new job." And she said, "But you're a guy." And at that moment, my dad turned around. He said, "Come on, Tori, let's go."
Hey, y'all, quick break. Here at American Operator, we believe that small business is the backbone of this country. But more and more, Main Street's getting swallowed up by big corporations, Wall Street, or some of them are just shutting down. And if you've ever thought about building something of your own, or just being a part of saving the American dream, head on over to AmericanOperator.com. It's your one-stop shop for inspiration, stories, and you'll get to join this really great community of patriots that believe our country is still worth fighting for. All right, back to the show.
And we left. And JC, I was probably 8 years old, maybe. I was pretty little. And
so you remember all that?
I remember that.
Yeah.
And we made it through. I mean, without the assistance, but seeing the resilience that he had of, okay, you told me no, you can't help me, and seeing him just find any way that he can. Oh man.
Take care of somebody he cared about more than anything else. Seems like that's what stuck with you.
Yeah. Oh man. He
Take your time, Tori, no worries.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was an incredible guy. It means that much to you. What was his name, by the way?
Mike.
Mike?
Yeah, so...
Government name Michael?
No. Well, yes and no. Government name James Michael.
Okay. I know a guy who does that, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, man. You got me tearing up over here.
That's all right. Well, if you were tearing up about ice cream or Buc-ee's or something, I'd be like, maybe it's a little too hardcore. I know I'm a Texan too, but you're doing it about a good man. It's never anything wrong with that.
Oh, man. He was exactly what you would want a parent to be. And we went through a lot of hard times. And I would definitely say the number one thing he taught me was resilience in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the beginning of when I consciously remember seeing those resilient type, courageous conversations. But the reality is my parents divorced when I was 2 years old. So my dad became the single parent of a 2-year-old little girl. And that takes resilience in general. So my dad always told me the story of after my parents separated, my dad was obviously really upset about that. And he said he was crying almost every night just from the emotion of going through the divorce. And he said, I came into his room. Our bedrooms were side by side. I came into his bedroom and I said, Dad, and I'm 2 years old, by the way. I said, Dad, you got to stop all this crying. I can't sleep a wink. And he said the next day, that was the end of his crying.
Oh, really?
He said, you at 2 years old coming to tell me essentially get over it and move on. He said, that's what I had to do. I had to move on. I had to provide. I had to be in the right headspace for you. So I think we both taught each other a lot, even in my little 2-year-old stage.
I was going to say, I bet you if he was here right now, he'd probably say the same thing about you. As much you learned from him on resilience, I can only imagine what a little dot running around could teach you, especially one with a little bit of flair like you do.
Well, in meeting me, I can assure you, you've already met him because we are a copy and paste of each other. I am the female version of my dad, 100%.
Yeah.
From the sense of humor, the way we speak, we're very. If he was sitting right here, that would be my twin.
We'd be doing a double episode.
Oh,
yeah,
my gosh.
It'd be a carbon copy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you shared about Mike there. I think I'm always just, it's not a surprise to me, but I'm still always in awe about what makes somebody tick. Mm-hmm. And to me, even from when I met you, I was like, this person's got something different in them, fueled differently, wired differently. You meet those people. You don't always get to know why, but there's something there. And I appreciate you sharing that. So it sounds like when Grandpa called and was like, hey, you got to help me take care of this travel bus biz, there was no question, huh? You were coming down and helping.
Oh, yeah. So I had a very interesting childhood. My grandparents owning Clark Travel is a charter bus company that started off as a tour business. So I'm sure you've seen this before where you have, 50, 60, usually people who are a little bit older in their 60s, 70s, 80s, retired, take bus trips throughout the United States.
Oh, yeah.
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 So
they get off together. They got a little...
take a picture, get back on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I... That's
Are
how
they still doing that, do you think?
They still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still do it.
Nice.
So my grandmother would write and direct the tours. My grandfather would drive the bus. That's how they got started. He drove buses for Kerrville and Greyhound back in the day. And as he would say it, I saw the writing on the wall, and I wanted to, basically be able to control my own destiny. So he and my grandmother put a plan together, and there was a family in Houston, the Rogers family, and Lanny Rogers was kind of the patriarch of the family, and he leased my family their first few buses from his own operation. And if it wasn't for him, no one wants to take a gamble on you in the bus business when you're brand new. The equipment's expensive. There's a lot to it. But the Rogers family did, and our families remained friends for decades, just good people. So they started doing these tours, and my dad, before I was born, he would drive buses too. It was his whole family affair.
He's driving, and he's like, is there like an audible? Like they're giving people an idea of where they're at? I guess I'm trying to understand.
Sure.
Around Central Texas?
Around the whole United States.
Oh, around the whole U.S.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Central Texas based.
Exactly. So all of U.S., Canada, and I think they went into parts of Mexico sometimes.
It's fascinating.
Oh, gosh. So growing up, seeing that, I mean, my first tour was to Granbury, Texas. I was 8 years old, and I helped in any way that I could. I remember my grandmother said, okay, we're going to take a picnic stop. And my grandmother was very unique in her approach to customer service and hospitality. She really taught me how to connect and communicate with people. And if you could put an 8-year-old on a bus with 50 people who are, 5, 6, 7 times their age, it teaches you a lot. And she knew what she was doing. Mm-hmm. At the time, I didn't know she knew what she was doing, but she did. So she said, we're going to pull over up here. We were heading out to Granbury, so we're going to pull over here. We're going to have we're going to do a little picnic. In today's world, we would call that a charcuterie board and wine. Okay?
Yeah.
And because that's exactly what it was. She had cheeses and variety of different, meats and salamis and red and white wine. It was a production. She would pull over, and this is just a regular rest stop with the concrete benches. It is nothing fancy, but it was a very particular rest stop. And I don't know how she could remember these things. So she would have the driver open up the bays of the bus underneath. She had white linens. I would have to go place all the linens out. She would bring all the charcuterie items, place them all out.
I'm just clicked what you just, this isn't the gas station.
No.
This is that like when you get a cutout on the highway and it's got a couple picnic tables.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's not an easy one to remember.
No.
It's usually randomly off the highway.
No, she knew. I don't know how she could remember every little detail.
Yeah.
It was incredible. So it was a whole production. I mean, I'm throwing out these white linens. She's bringing over the meats and cheeses and fruits. And she says, "You're pouring the wine." I was 8 years old. And she said, "You're pouring the wine. You just stand right here and everyone will walk up and you just pour all the glasses of wine. Go ahead and get started." Mm-hmm. So I can tell you that serving is a difficult job. Serving wine on a bus going 60 miles an hour is even more difficult, but I became a pro at that. Thank God she started me off on solid ground.
Yeah.
So, everyone would come out, grab a bite, grab a, glass of wine, get back on the bus. But the thoughtfulness behind everything she did was just incredible.
She could have just had them ride that bus, get to the next point.
Absolutely.
Is that where you learned? I know we'll talk about this later. Is this where you started to learn experience? Like where you started to learn like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember we were taking a trip through the Rocky Mountains, and I was probably 13 or 14 at the time. It was over the summer, and during the summertime, I was very fortunate enough that I would be able to travel with her. Not every trip, but a lot. I've been to every state except Maine, and it's because of that. So I remember she said, "We're going to put snack boxes together for the trip," and it was a 2-week trip. And I said, okay. She said, "I have a unique gift that we're going to make." She went to Bluebell, and she asked Bluebell if she could buy empty half-gallon ice cream cartons. And so they allowed her to. Okay. And I don't know if they still will sell you an empty carton or not, but they sold them at the time. She brought them home, and she had a variety of different snacks, some sweets like candies, juices, because with that demographic, you can have a lot of people who have diabetes or their sugar will drop.
Oh, sure.
So protein bars, trail mixes. So she said, "Okay, you're going to take one item of each, place it in this Bluebell container, and I'll be on this side tying a ribbon around every single one." So when we would pick you up in the beginning of the trip, you have this cute, original little gift snack box there for you. And seeing people light up over a Bluebell ice cream container with a bunch of snacks in it, that little thing, that little something added to the experience. And that's what she was known for.
What was her name?
Margaret.
Margaret.
Yep. So that's what she was known for. If it was your birthday, if it was your anniversary, you can be guaranteed she's not going to forget it.
Yeah.
We had a couple celebrating a 50th anniversary. They were not aware that she knew. And that night, and granted, we're 1,000 miles away. She had flowers delivered. She had a cake, happy anniversary. She had a song that was significant to them. I can't remember the reason of its significance. She had the restaurant play that song. It was just...
I wonder if it was like some Barry Manilow or something.
Oh, I have no idea. I just remember thinking, and everyone was crying because it was just the sincerity and the surprise and the sincerity behind it. It was just...
Like, who's spending their time thinking about people?
Yeah.
They've already paid y'all for what they wanted to get.
Exactly.
That is not above and beyond. That is like almost what you do for family. some people don't even do that for family. You know what I mean? And she's doing it for these people you probably just met.
Yes.
It seems to me that like between your dad and your grandparents, like you're learning through their example, just watching them be.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Obviously, the business fell on hard times eventually. It seemed like there's such a great recipe there. What happened that required kind of Tori to come back and help man the ship? I know Dad also.
Yes. So, so Clark Travel started this transition of there was a big need for private charter service, especially in the Austin area at the time. This was in the in the early 90s, I would say. Clark Travel started transitioning from just tours to private travel, and they still were running tours. But when your tours were not happening, when it wasn't tour season, and there's a season for that, when it wasn't tour season, then the buses are sitting there not making money.
Yeah.
So they began, hiring them out, and that's where the charter service came in, and eventually 0 tours, all charter service.
Okay.
So we would provide transportation to schools, universities, corporations, military, anyone who needed to move a lot of people from one place to another. That was our specialty. We would even provide transportation service to other tour companies. So they would write and sell out their tours, but use our vehicle and our driver to transport. So it really evolved over a span of, I'd say, 5 to 8 years. After my dad passed, I think what was really missing is a focus on driving new business and innovation. So after my dad passed away, I just think there was some mismanagement and that drive that my grandparents had when they first started versus post loss of their son was just diminished. And there were a lot of financial difficulties there. When I came in, I was 20 years old when they called me back. And at 20, I wasn't paying attention to the financial health or anything like that. That was kind of above my pay grade, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
I always just expected that things were fine until I noticed they weren't fine, which was, there were days where my grandfather would say, "Hey, payroll is today. I need you to ask a few people not to cash their paychecks because it's going to bounce." And at 20, that's a pretty difficult conversation.
Yeah.
To have. We got through those times by the skin of our teeth. It was tough. And then both of my grandparents passed away within 11 months of each other. And by that time, I was 24. And what I thought about the financial strength of the company, what I thought had improved had not. And again, I didn't really have access to that. So once they passed, I discovered a pretty insurmountable amount of debt. And
this all fell to you because you were like the heir apparent? Is that what happened?
Yes, I was the sole beneficiary for both of my grandparents.
Got it.
Blessing and a curse, I always say.
Totally, yeah. That's it.
We had a saying in our family that I'll share with you. And, though there were hard times, my family did see a lot of success in the bus industry. And we had a saying, it was "Thank God and Greyhound," because if it wasn't for Greyhound, we would have ended up there. Yeah. So I still say that sometimes, "Thank God and Greyhound." So I
miss those buses, man.
So flash forward 24 years old, I just discover all this debt, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're not going to make it. We're going to go under.
It was that much, huh?
Millions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I my undergrad degree is in psychology, not finance. So I just thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I hired an attorney who was recommended to me by my CPA, and she said, talk to this gentleman. I think he can help you. And he said, Tori, you have a few options. One of your options is you can sell off all of the assets of the business, and you may be able to pay off the debt. You can file bankruptcy. That's option number 2. Or number 3 is you can try to make this work. And I said, well, hell, if I have to do number 1 or 2, I might as well try number 3. So I chose door number 3.
Because I'll still get door 1 and 2 with 3 if I want it.
Yeah. If door number 3 doesn't work out, then
I'm in for the 3-for-1 deal potentially. Yeah, not just the 1.
So I went with door number 3, and I had just a fantastic team. We worked together. We restructured. I had a great manufacturing partner. And in the bus world, when you think of a manufacturer for a car, say a Ford F-150, when you go purchase a new Ford F-150, you're purchasing it from a dealership, not from the manufacturer. And secondly, when you're purchasing it, you sometimes typically have a trade. So maybe you're trading in your old truck for a new truck, or maybe you don't have a trade. But generally, you're only going to trade one vehicle for one new vehicle, right?
Correct.
Well,
I see it coming.
Yeah. So we had some buses at the time. They were getting pretty old.
Yeah.
And I remember I called up a couple bus manufacturers, and I said, this is my situation. I've got these buses, and I need to make a deal. I need to get rid of some of the older ones, get some new ones. And the problem was the utilization of the buses was just poor at best. So at the time, we had a fleet of 35, and I needed to bring it down to 2025. But how do you do that? Selling off one bus is $550,000. So
that's how much a bus costs?
That's how much one charter bus costs. It's more than that now, but about 7-8 years ago it was that. So I would venture to say they're probably pushing 600 now, but $550,000 for one bus. So I thought, okay, who is going to believe in me enough to take on a deal where I say, hey, JC, you feeling pretty good today? So I've got 15 buses over here, and I want to trade them in for 10. Well, think about going to a car dealership and saying, I want to buy 10 brand new F-150s, and I'm going to give you 15 old F-150s.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. So I worked with a company, Motor Coach Industries, and we owed them a ton of money at the time. That was probably the largest debt holder for Clark Travel. And I called our sales rep. His name was Rob Lesser. And I will venture to guarantee Rob is going to see this. And I spoke with Rob, and then his boss was Pat Ziska, who's retired since then. And I said, Rob, if we don't do this, I'm not going to make it. And there's nothing like someone you owe hundreds of thousands of dollars to saying, hey, I'm 28 years old. I don't really know a lot right now, but if you stick with me, I promise it'll be worth it. And they did the deal. They allowed us to trade in way more than what we purchased. And that effectively lowered our debt, it lowered our debt payments, increased our cash flow, eliminated the debt that we owed to that manufacturer, and created a company-long partnership. They believed in me. I believed in them. They always treated me well.
Why do you
And,
think they believed in you?
Um,
Or what would Rob say?
charisma. I don't know. You know, the funny thing is I had known Rob since I was a little kid because my family would purchase buses from, you know, the different manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob was just always a solid guy. I remember meeting Rob for the first time when I was probably 9 or 10 years old. So I had known him for an extensive amount of time, but never in an ownership position. And I think that he knew she's grown up in this. She knows what to do. I'm going to fight for her so that she can continue doing this. I was also one of the youngest motor coach business owners at the time.
Yeah, no doubt.
And only 10%, only 10% of charter bus company owners are female. So it's a very male-dominated industry. And I think that I was a bit of a unicorn. And sometimes people like unicorns, and thank God they like this one.
Yeah.
And I think Rob knew that he was betting on a racehorse that maybe needed some TLC, but would get there. And thank God they did.
You were his sea biscuit. Yeah, they're like, this is gonna win. What do you get? So it sounds like also from a business perspective, you were like, we got to do. Am I reading it right? You got to do less better.
Correct.
Like we're managing all these buses and the whole fleet and maintenance and all this stuff. Do less better. That was the thought behind it.
So less can be more. And when you have a bus that's sitting on the lot, it's losing you money.
Yeah.
So how can we make sure those wheels are rolling as much as possible and still maintain safety and be able to hit all of our maintenance goals, be efficient in that way.
What did your team think of you?
What am my
I
team
know what
think
Rob
of them?
thought of you, I guess. What does your team think of you when you took over at 28 years old? When you took over and, you know, grandparents passed away and you're like, I'm the new boss, I guess.
Yeah, I was 24.
Yeah.
And eventually sold when I was 28. But I was 24. The demographic of employees in the bus industry is typically a little bit older. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have people who have retired. You have some school bus drivers, maybe truckers who they don't want to be over the road anymore. Generally speaking, you're looking at drivers who are in their 40s, typically kind of the younger of the bunch, 50s, 60s. So you can imagine what it's like for a 24-year-old female with a psychology degree to come in and say, hey guys, I'm your new owner. It had challenges, and the challenges were, well, you're young and you don't know what you're doing, so we're gonna leave. Mm-hmm. And I had a few people leave, but I would say the majority, 90%, stayed, and they believed in what we could do together. They believed in the process and the mission. And thank God they did, because I had the best team. I had some amazing leaders. One in particular, her name is Nona. And I swear, if Nona could morph herself into various industries, I would have taken her every single business I've opened. Loyal, very analytical, and was just a key player for me.
Sounds like she offset you.
She did.
Those skills and talents.
She did. And she would sometimes take on that big sister role for me too.
Important.
Yeah, and she would say, you know, let's rethink this. Or if I had some harebrained idea, I'd say, no, this is what we're gonna do. And I always knew when she was questioning Nick, she'd say, all right, Tori, you're the boss. And I knew at that time she doesn't agree with it.
She's not co-signing it, really.
With it.
Yeah.
But she's going to keep going.
Yeah.
And sometimes at the end, the saying "you are right" was not something that anybody sometimes likes to say. But the saying "you are right," her and I would go back and forth on, "Yep, no, you were right," or "Yep, Tori, all right, you were right this time."
Yeah.
But I would say knowing you have a good team is walking into a team meeting when something has gone wrong, and just saying the words, "Guys, I'm just really disappointed," and everyone putting their head down and just nodding their head, and you can see that your disappointment is their disappointment. That's how you know you have a good team, because they've taken on that same love and passion that you have, and it's sitting right here. And I just had the best team. If it wasn't for my team, we would not have gotten through those rough times at Clark Travel.
Did you say something? Do you remember thinking, all right, I got to pump them up or something, like when you first took over? Like, why did the 90% of, obviously they believed in the mission. They obviously probably, I would imagine I'm filling the gaps here that, you know, your grandparents and father being good people kind of established, a reason to believe. Did you say anything, though, to help kind of add on to that? Do you remember saying anything specific to them to just think you got 90% of them to at least hang on?
That's a good question. I don't remember having a big team meeting or anything. I remember business as usual. And a lot of the difficulties were not known to the majority.
Mm-hmm.
So the difficulties were known to mainly my admin, my operations team. They knew the struggles that we were trying to work past. And of course, some of our motor coach operators knew that too. Yeah. But I think they just knew that was the natural succession plan. A lot of them would always joke, "We're going to work for you one day, Tori." Mm-hmm. And I didn't plan on living my whole life in Clark Travel. And I just would laugh when they would say that. And that reality hit a lot sooner than I expected.
Yeah, it thrusted right in. What you said you guys ended up selling? What ended up happening at 28?
Oh gosh, cold call. I received a cold call from a competitor in Dallas, and they said, "Hey, we want to break into the Austin market. In order for us to do that successfully, we need to acquire Clark Travel." And my original response was, "Well, guess you better find somebody else because it's not for sale." Yeah. And at the time, Clark Travel, which is in its prime, doing fantastic. We were seeing the fruit of our labor, and we were having the best year. And I thought, there's just no way. I'm not doing this.
Blood, sweat, and tears into it already. Yeah.
And they said, "Well, it's not for sale. Are you sure?" I said, "Pretty sure right now. Yep, give me a couple days. I'll call you back." So I reached out to a transportation M&A company that I had met very, very briefly, but the Tenney Group is their name, and I was working with Charles Tenney, and he and I had met very briefly he was at some conference, mm-hmm. But he and my grandfather knew each other pretty well, and I'd heard his name over the years many times. I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, I had this company call me. They're interested in purchasing Clark Travel. I don't know if that's the right route for me." We went through a evaluation, and I remember I received the valuation, and I laughed. I said, "There is no damn way. There's no way. Your math ain't mathin'." And
what, that it's worth that much?
Yes, that it's worth that much.
Oh, you thought it was worth maybe way less than that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I said, "Your math just ain't mathin'. You're adding some numbers here that probably they don't need to be added. There's something wrong.
That's the opposite problem for most owners.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
think it's enough.
No.
You're
it
saying,
was-
heck no.
I was like, there is no way. So, so I said, you're adding, there's something wrong. And he said, no, I don't think so. Okay, let's go through it. Let's talk about your EBITDA. And I'm looking at it and I said, well, actually, that's not right. That number is a little bit higher. So by the time of the end of the conversation, when we finished some fine tuning adjustments, we were even higher than when we started the conversation. So I said, do you really think these numbers you're showing me are marketable? And he said, I think they're more than marketable. I said, well, I guess we should just see what happens. And I thought it wasn't an immediate thing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I guess we can see what happens. Let me think about it. And anyone who knows me long enough knows that I'm not good at immediate decisions. I like to think things through and come up with what I think is going to be the best, the best decision. So I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I knew deep down in my heart that I loved Clark Travel and I loved what I was doing. But the charter bus industry, it's a difficult one. It's a blood, sweat, and tears 24/7. Those buses are rolling all throughout the night.
Yeah.
And I always had just this feeling in my gut. If anything happens, if an 18-wheeler, trucker is intoxicated and slams into the side of a bus, those type of things as a bus operator you think about, and they would keep me those thoughts would keep me up at night. We took kids to camp for years for the Young Life organization, and we would drive kids in the middle of the night. Those were the nights I would not sleep. And it's not because I didn't believe in my team. It's because you can't control everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought long and hard about it. I spent a few weeks kind of mulling it over. And the second thing outside of the risk and liability, the second thing I thought of is, well, what would I do after this? What does life look like for me after the bus industry? And I couldn't think of what that looked like. So I knew I needed to make a decision, and I decided, let's see what happens. So we put it on the market. Ended up in a situation where I think we had 8 offers. And
So you just didn't go back to the Dallas folks.
No,
You just said, let's
we
put
marketed it. Well, we did let them know we're going to put the business on the market. We can provide you all the information you'd like.
Yeah.
So of course, yep, they wanted a seat at the table. They made an offer. All their competitors made an offer. I mean, it was a very interesting time.
Yeah.
So we looked over all the offers. We immediately narrowed it down to, I want to say it was to 2 operators, one out of Dallas and one out of Houston. Narrowed it down to 2 and ultimately settled on the original
Really?
cold call.
Okay.
Yes. And
Was there anything about them that you just made you go, that's the right move?
Yeah, their stability, their reputation in the market, their growth strategy and their plan moving forward.
So it wasn't just the highest number. You're thinking about your teammates too.
Yes. And speaking of teammates, it was important for me that my team, once acquired, they wouldn't lose benefits. Their pay wouldn't decrease, and that they would keep their positions.
Yeah.
So as the deal went on, I was very open and candid about that. And they agreed. They said, you tell us what you want us to keep, what you want us to do, and we'll do it. So they were showing me we want to continue that culture. So that was important. And ultimately, both of those final offers came in very close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But Roadrunner is the company that we sold to in Dallas. And ultimately, Roadrunner, the Wills family who owns Roadrunner, they said, we'll do that. We'll make sure that what you want your team to have after your exit, that we make that happen. And they held true to that. So I was very grateful for that. My team, I don't think that a lot of them knew that was the behind the scenes workings, but my team ultimately benefited from that. And and that made me happy, made me able to sleep at night,
Yeah.
knowing that not only would this be a good financial opportunity for my family and I, but also I'll be able to keep the same financial strength for every employee that's still working there. So
You gotta feel pretty good.
it made me feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me feel good.
What happened is like they buy it and then you just didn't go. What was that day after feeling?
Oh gosh. So
You accidentally go in by, you've just been doing it for so long, and I don't know, all this. I can only imagine, especially out of why you did it. I'm still in awe of the fact that, like, heck, Tori, in like 6 action-packed years, you went from like holding this heavy thing from going out of business bankrupt into building this thing into a place where you're making now demands about how you want to treat your employees before you head out. It's kind of crazy rodeo.
oh, it was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane. I went from crying every night, not knowing how am I going to make payroll? How am I going to make bus payments? How a payment on a car is, say, depending on the type of car, right? $300, $500, $700, $800, whatever your car is, can be more than that, right? Well, payment on a bus is anywhere at the time. It's increased since, of course, but at the time, a payment on a bus was anywhere from $5,500 to $7,500
Each?
each.
Yeah.
Yeah, each. So,
Oh, man. You're paying 6 figures a month for your fleet.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and then on top of that, you have insurance.
Yep.
Your insurance is, at the time for the fleet of our size, our insurance was, I don't know, say $80,000 a quarter. So hey, you're paying some big money.
Yeah.
But we stayed the course and made it through. And ultimately, a lot of the team members that I had I'm 37 now. So it's been almost 10 years. And I would say that a lot of the internal staff is still there. Nona,
She's still there?
Yeah, still there.
You guys catch up still?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nona has just a big piece of my heart, just a good person. And I see her. I wish I saw her more often, but I generally will see her around the holidays.
Yeah.
So, but she's still there. A lot of the operators are still there.
They all still pretty happy, it sounds like.
We don't discuss a lot of that. There's always going to be happiness and unhappiness depending on the season.
Sure.
But they're staying busy. Their business is running well, and usually you see operators, motor coach operators in the industry. Sometimes you'll see them hop from company to company, which is also popular in like the trucking industry. But I've noticed that a lot of those operators are still with the Clark Travel brand.
Yeah.
Which is positive.
That is good.
Yeah.
I mean, the proof's in the pudding. So getting back to my question that I realized I went down a rabbit hole on us, so that's on me. But what was the day after feeling? Like, just curious?
Oh, day after. Gosh.
Or even the week after?
I remember the announcement. The funny thing is I didn't announce when I took over ownership,
But you announced when you were
but I
out.
announced when I was out. So at least I can't remember the announcement of ownership. So the exit announcement was tough. Was very emotional for me, and I think that the main reasons are because that's my family's name on the side of those charter buses. It's like a moving billboard going down the highway, and that was the end of an era for my family and I, and it was a legacy that would continue to live on, and I felt would continue to live on in a positive way. But standing in front of nearly 100 team members stating, hey guys, my time is done and I'm moving on, and I want to introduce new ownership to you. And of course, a little bit more elegant than that, right? But that was the gist. It was a tough day. It was a tough day because that family feeling that we all had this connection was being severed. And there were some team members who were upset by the sale, not because they didn't think that the new owners would take care of them or run a good operation, but because we had committed to this vision the past 4 years, and we were in it together, and it kind of felt like a divorce. A divorce where neither one of you really did anything wrong, but it's not. You've heard the term when some people divorce, it's just not working anymore. Mm-hmm. And things were working fine, but that's what it felt like. I still get Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, Happy New Year from a ton of my Clark Travel team members. So there is still this love and adoration for each other and respect and trust that still comes through a decade later.
Yeah. Testament to, I think, your family and you. And I reckon, I guess, if you didn't feel that way, might be something wrong. So I think that in a weird way, that bad feeling is a good thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Looking back on it now, Tori, do you feel that was still the right call?
I miss it.
You do?
I miss it. And if someone called me today and said, hey, you want to get in the charter bus industry? I'd think really hard about it.
You would.
And I've had a few opportunities. Here and there that some I've explored, some I did not. Mm-hmm. But it's a fun industry. I would think really hard about it.
You would?
Yeah, I would. It's an industry that if you have insight and a past background in, you would do well in. Like most, right? But
But you grew up in it serving red wine and white wine, and I mean, like, there's no more in the industry you can get.
Oh yeah, I remember on a tour once. I'll tell you this funny story. I almost fell off a cliff at the Grand Canyon. Trying to take a picture for a couple. It was a special trip for them. I don't remember if they were celebrating a birthday or anniversary, and that particular day, we were at the Grand Canyon, and they wanted to take a shot, a nice, beautiful shot with the Grand Canyon behind them. And I have no idea what I thought was a good idea at the time. It was absolutely not. There's a bar that stops you from going from getting too close to the edge. I jumped over the bar so that I could get this great shot of them, and I had like the heel of my shoe was pretty thick, and I slipped and literally almost fell off the side of the Grand Canyon just trying to get a picture. But what I can tell you is the tip that they gave me at the end of the trip was pretty good.
Was worth the risk.
Yeah, pretty good. So yeah, sometimes you do a lot of things to, make people happy. Don't risk your life, though. I learned that.
Yeah, especially
learned that.
Well, it sounds like that kind of leads into, I mean, speaking of going above and beyond and like doing that, it seems to me that's kind of what led us to where you're at now, running Spa Luxe. How does somebody go from the bus industry to the spa industry?
Oh gosh.
Those don't seem related unless there's a hot tub on a bus or something that I'm not thinking about. But I mean, I'm just curious. Like, they just seem worlds apart.
They are. So Spa Luxe is a wellness spa offering massages, facials, nail services, waxing, and soon medical spa services such as injectables are coming soon. But spa is a whole body experience for us. And sometimes you think spas, you think hot tubs. Funny enough, when we first opened, we had a gentleman leave us a 1-star review saying that we didn't have parts in stock. We had to sadly let him know that we are not a hot tub company. But we're a true head to toe day spa. And when I explain it to people in a 2-second conversation, I'd say we do everything except hair. So it's all encompassing of what you would need for a true spa experience. I had a friend of mine, his name was Teddy, and Teddy and I had met through a spa franchise that we were both sort of affiliated with at the time. And he, after his time with the franchise ended, he said, I've always wanted to open a distribution company for the spa industry. And he had a pretty significant background in that. I said, all right, well, what does that look like? What kind of products do you think we should offer? Tell me more about your business plan and your vision. And he said, in the spa industry, there is not a distributor who is distributing through an e-commerce platform very successfully. He said, I think that I can do it. And I think we can distribute products, equipment, eventually services to help, new owners design and equip their location. And I helped him launch that. That was the Spa Mart. Was part of that for a couple years, and then sold my half to Teddy. Super proud of him. They just landed Inc. 5000 a couple years ago.
Nice.
So up and running, fantastic, good people. And working with Teddy opened the door for me to the spa industry. I met a ton of great spa owners. And what I notice being in and out of a ton of spas here and, in other places in the nation, being in and out of a spa, I could see the operations, the processes they had, and what I call the ugly side of the beauty industry. There are things in the background that, as a customer going into the spa, you don't see. So I was just slowly every day learning little by little of what it looks like and what it takes to run a successful spa or an unsuccessful spa.
Mm-hmm.
Because Teddy and I would walk into a lot of spas that we could tell right away either they were struggling or they've got a really well-run organization. And just over those 2 years, I was taking these mental notes of what's working, what's not working. So at one point, I mentioned the spa franchise. I was a part of a spa franchise. Things did not go well. So I exited the franchise, ended my agreement with them. And when I was a part of the franchise, I had signed a lease for our Georgetown location under the franchise name. And I remember, we got into a little bit of a legal battle for me to, I was trying to exit.
Mm-hmm.
And when I ultimately exited successfully, part of our agreement was that the franchise would A, give me back all of the resources that I had put in, but B, allow me to open spas if I wanted to. So that was a tough one, and that was where I was at a crossroads. Was okay, I've got this leased space. The landlord, the Novak family, they, Jeff Novak in particular, I said, Jeff, I've got this leased space, and I want to put a spa there, but I've never built a spa, and I'm a little nervous. I went the franchise route because I thought that's a proven process and structure that I can build off of. He looked at me and he said, Tori, if anybody can build a successful spa, I think it's you. And I said, well, if you think I can do it, then I'm going to give it my best. So once I lost the backing of the franchise, I also lost all the backing of any bank that wanted to fund me. So I went to bank after bank after bank. I had one banker, and I won't say his name, but I had one banker look at me and say, you should have just stuck to buses. You were really good at buses. I said I was, but I'm going to be really good at spa.
Yeah.
But you have to believe that. I can see this isn't going to work. I'll go to another bank. So I did, and I went to bank after bank after bank, and no after no after no. And I went to Jeff, and I said, Jeff, I can't get a bank to say yes. I've gone to at least 10 or 12 banks. He said, I've got somebody you need to talk to. So he connects me with a banker he knows, and his name was James Klingman and Doug LeBlanc. Those are the two bankers that I use. And
those are good names.
And yeah, great names, right? So Doug came out, met with me. I told him the plan, and he said, I have financed, some of the best spas in Austin, and I think that your business plan is excellent. I love what you're doing and what your vision is, and I want to help make this happen for you. And he did. But it took someone understanding the industry and what it can be and the vision of the innovation that we had behind it. Mm-hmm. And that was the key aspect that was missing from every other banker that I spoke to. So, Doug funded the loan, and we were off to the races. We had a great construction team. A spa typically takes 6 to 8 months to build out. I think we did it in 5. It was fantastic. Great launch. Spa Luxe has just been a phenomenal success, and it has hinged on people and hospitality.
Yeah, you told me something when we were catching up that I think, how did you say? You said it's a hospitality company posing as a spa.
Yes.
Or something like that, right?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
So our corporate name is Clark Hospitality Group. Doesn't say anything about spa in that name. So we knew that our secret sauce was we could bring people in all day to have a massage, a facial, manicure, pedicure. But you can get that on almost every street corner, it seems.
That's right.
You can go to a lot of great spas, especially in Austin. There are great spas in Georgetown, great spas in Austin. But something that I saw over the years that most spas had a real difficulty with were two things. Number one, hospitality. And number two, consistency. When you walk into a spa and you have a massage, say your massage therapist name is Jill, and Jill gives you a fantastic massage, and then you rebook, and let's say you book with someone else. Let's say you end up booking with Karen. You come in 3 weeks later, you have your massage with Karen, completely different. And it's not because of the style, it's because of the process. So when you come to Spa Luxe, we have a very specific outline of how the flow of that massage should go from start to end. Start with this aromatherapy. There's, there is, our hot towel, foot compresses. We start at this point on the body. We move to this. There's a flow.
Oh, interesting.
And
When you said process, I was thinking like your check-in process. You're talking about, no, the actual
actual service has a process.
Yeah.
So that is the Luxe experience. And it starts from the moment you're solidifying your appointment. Everything is scripted, not to take away your individuality, but to create consistency. And when you're leading a team and you're leading a culture, it's really important that they understand the consistency of it. And our team at Spa Luxe has just done an incredible job of holding on to that consistency. When you enter our brand, either as a front desk team member, a massage therapist, an esthetician, even a laundry specialist, we are showing you and putting you through our Spa Luxe boot camp of, I'll take laundry as an example. A laundry specialist is an entry-level position for us. But if you are in that laundry specialist position, we're showing you everything from, this is how much detergent we put in each load of laundry. This is how, this is the wash cycle that we use. This is how long it takes to dry. When you fold the towels, we do a hamburger fold, 2 hot dog folds. There's a very specific way. And it's, it then becomes a seamless transition. Mm-hmm. So if one person is doing it this exact way, the next person does it the exact way, it just makes things so much easier.
Yeah.
And in the spa world, those processes are lost. Something as little as folding a towel makes a big difference, because the way we fold a towel is so that it will be efficient for our team members that are in the room. So the way we fold towels that we use in a facial, it's easy for them to open it and put it on the table, or open it and place it on the guest. Mm-hmm. There's no, let me open it and fidget with it. It's seamless for them. There are so many little things that over the years we have fine-tuned to make sure that guest experience is the same no matter if you're going to Jill or Karen. Mm-hmm. And while each therapist has usually a very unique style, especially when it comes to massage, we don't want to take away from that. But we want to make sure you hit every key point that makes you memorable, gives the guest the best value we can give them, and provides all of the key aspects of the Luxe experience, from the touch and aromatherapy, the hot towels, the care that we put in. It's highly consistent. And those protocols are what make it that. You'll go through 2 weeks of intensive training before you start.
You even get to hang out with some. No, it's something I've noticed about whether it's luxury or just highly immersive, experiential type places. There is a almost militaristic regiment that happens behind the scenes. We actually got to see this really incredible boutique, wilderness based kind of lodging area, the behind the scenes of what it's all. The experience behind the scenes was as pristine as it was in front of the scenes. There wasn't like brush something under the rug. And I think as they recognize that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Mm-hmm. And so just kind of that level of consistency, I can see that. I also wonder, one thing as you were saying that is like when people decide to come to y'all or any spa, it seems to me that folks are much more sensitive and now becoming more aware, right? So like they can probably tell when something is off, where normally if I'm walking to somebody's house, I'm not looking at their towels, but if I'm going into this experience, I feel everything. To include one thing you had mentioned, which I think is just such a world-class move, and would love for you to talk about, kind of how you also give, in addition to the regimen you provide and the systems and the process, it seems like you also give your teammates permission to go above and beyond without having to ask
Absolutely.
necessarily, or I'm not sure. Maybe you can talk about that some.
Sure. So, absolutely. We, I'll tell you a fun fact. I have a lot of respect for the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Group. They have the last time I checked at least, they have a rule where each team member has the power to solve an issue for a guest and make sure that they're happy within a certain cost range. It's an extremely high cost range. It's Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
And Tori does not have Ritz-Carlton money, but Tori knows the $20 bouquet of flowers goes a long way. So we are currently piloting a director of delight position where we have a team member who their focus, and how would you love to have this job? Their focus every day is how can I make the guest experience even more amazing? Or as we say, spawsome. How can we make it even more spawsome and memorable?
I love that.
So if you give us a call and you say, hey, it's my wife and I's 10th anniversary, I want to do something really special for her. What kind of flowers does she like? What things does she like to do, outside of, work or family? So you may say, oh, she loves roses. Okay. Well, we want to work with you and not just make your Spa Luxe experience memorable, but make you a hero at the same time. So in that type of situation, when we say, hey, JC called and it's he and his wife's 10th anniversary and he wants to do something really special for her. So we'll make you look very good. Our team will go out, buy some flowers. They can put them in her locker. So when she comes in, there's this beautiful, dozen roses in there with a little card, whatever you wanted to say. Love you, babe. Love JC. And then, hopefully you take credit for it. But we've done things like that. We've most recently we had a teacher come in. Teachers really have my heart. We had a teacher come in and she we heard a story about this teacher that she one of her students, I think she taught third grade. So remember, it was little kids. She taught third grade. And there was a really bad incident at her school where one of her students actually attempted to beat her up, for lack of better terms. And the school district just didn't have her back. She was going through a really rough time. I mean, this child literally jumped on top of her, started punching her. And so we heard this story. And one of her family members scheduled a spa service in for her and shared that story with us. And I told my team, I said, we have to do something very special for her. Being a teacher, number one, is incredibly difficult and challenging. It takes a lot of heart. It's definitely a thankless job. And to go to work and not be in a safe environment and have an administration that doesn't have your back has got to be very frustrating. So they put together a sweet card for her and had a gift bag and everything prepared for her. And in the card, they wrote something to the extent of, basically, don't give up. We need you. We love you. And she was so grateful for that. Posted it all over social media. But above anything, it made her feel seen and valued and understand that we need you. And there are little opportunities that we get like that, gosh, that's why we do it. I mean, that is my favorite thing, is hearing someone who is maybe going through a rough time or even a happy time.
Yeah.
And being able to celebrate or lift up, that is just the highlight. Honestly, that's the highlight of my day when we can do something like that for somebody.
I can imagine how infectious that is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And those moments, those are not the moments that you hear about on social media. You don't hear about those moments. And you may think, well, how do you hear about someone going through a rough time? Sometimes their family may call in, like I mentioned, and schedule a service and say they're going through this or that. But oftentimes when you're receiving a massage or a facial, it's a very vulnerable moment. I always tell people, you're naked in front of two strangers in your life, your doctor and your massage therapist. So when you're naked on a table, sometimes you just feel like spilling your heart out. And in those moments, we capture a lot of what that particular guest is going through, good, bad, and ugly. And maybe they share something if they got a promotion, or they're expecting their first child, or I just got engaged. Or so we love celebrating those positive, big life milestones. And at the same time, we will also help lift you up during those life events that are not so fun. The loss of a loved one, the loss of a pet, losing a job, transitioning, maybe you're new in town and it's been difficult for you. And this is your moment to have some relaxation and be able to maybe decompress from a stressful moment.
Yeah.
Those are all things that we're able to touch someone's life, not forever, but in that moment. And we have a saying at Spa Luxe, especially if we're in a situation where we have a difficult guest, and a difficult guest is someone who you can just tell they're having a bad day and they're taking it out on anybody that'll listen. And unfortunately, that happens. And behind the scenes, we're saying, JC, it's pretty difficult today, but thank God he found his way to Spa Luxe, because our hope is that JC may come in and maybe he's not happy right now and he's going through a rough time and someone just backed into his car in the parking lot. But by the time JC leaves, he is re-energized and renewed, and his body has calmed down, and he's a happier person. So thank God you found your way to Spa Luxe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what an incredible mission. And you should talk about we used to have this saying, when you train or whatever, it's like run through the finish line. Mm-hmm. And you guys are thinking way beyond the service itself, and you can see that. Yeah. I mean, definitely makes you want to. You can definitely tell these businesses in general, but people in general are not always thinking about that being. It's kind of this. I'm trying to wrap this thought. It's like meeting somebody who's cool, but they also aren't trying to be cool. It's like when you go, you know what I mean? That's why they're cool, And so it's a little bit like that with a spa, I imagine, or any business. Like y'all are doing that because your genuine heart's there. It just probably just so happens to also be the ingredient in the business that allows y'all to continue to grow in a way and be infectious and referrals and all that stuff. Yeah, you can see it there, Tori. One thing I want to make sure we capture before we let you get back into work and stuff. I know that one of the things kept tinkering in my brain. This goes so perfect with the way you think of people, the way your team thinks of people. You mentioned community being a big part of it and giving back. Right, like giving back and being somebody who kind of always looks behind you and just wonders how you can kind of keep pulling people forward. Just for anybody listening out there, especially folks who are looking to get into this world of ownership, any just things you want to share in particular about that?
Sure. You and I were speaking a little bit earlier today, and I shared with you that my heart is really in the place of giving back in my community. And how I can make an impact. And I've got some amazing mentors who have really led me in that direction. When I I call a baby business owner, mm-hmm. When I first became a business owner, I really and granted, I was very young at 24. I really did not understand the point of being so intertwined in your community. I was also just focused on trying to turn around a business.
Yeah, keep things alive.
But once you can get out of that hustle mindset, which my advice would be, get out of that as honestly as quickly as you can. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean a hustle mindset of I want to create a successful business and be able to provide for my employees and my customers. What I mean is all you can think about, eat, sleep, and do is on your business. You have to get away from the business for a moment and say, okay, I'm helping my business. How can I help my community? And someone told me a story, I guess it was a couple months ago. Generally, when you meet somebody, one of the first things you ask, especially in a professional setting, is, well, tell me what you do for a living. A gentleman asked a friend of mine, what's your contribution to the world? And that really stuck to me. And ever since I heard that a few months ago, I've questioned myself, what is my contribution to the world? And I think that contribution is giving back in any way that I can. And I've had so many people pour into me that my cup overflows. So how can I pour into someone else? We all should be asking ourselves that. My friends kid me about this sometimes, but I have a saying, and it's that everyone should be like a domino. And you should think, how can I push the next person forward? How can I make an impact on the person sitting in front of me? And it could just be by one small little encouraging word. But a domino, when you push it, it falls and it pushes the next domino. But it continues this chain reaction of positivity and impact if you're doing it from a positive place and a place of, I want to help change this person's life. And again, it literally could just be something small, some words of affirmation. For me, what that looks like is, how can I be involved in my community? I'm very passionate about underserved kids. So how can I help support, this nonprofit? How can I help children over here who, maybe they need a leg up? They need some positive advice. How can I be involved? So moving throughout your professional world, if there isn't something you're passionate about outside of your business, you have to find it. And for me, it's kids and giving back in my community in that way. So I have a gift for you.
Okay.
And, you've been a bit of a domino and an encouragement for me just in our short time of knowing each other. So I brought you a domino to remind you to continue being the amazing domino that you are.
Wow, Tori, it means a lot. I appreciate the story. I appreciate the thought. You're saying you give me a gift. I was like, you're on our show. You don't give us things.
I told you
we
it was
give
small.
You things. No, yeah.
I told you it was small.
It is often, anybody who knows me well, my wife will tell you if the house ever burned down, it's funny what she'll end up grabbing on my behalf if I'm not around. It'll be things that's worthless to anybody else.
Sure.
But means the world to me. I literally have this wallet that I've had since I was 13 years old because my father gave it to me. And so it's not an expensive wallet. It's just a small one. I've just had it forever. So these kinds of things mean a lot to me, I guess is what I'm telling you. And I just love the story about being a domino. I don't think I've ever heard it that way, where it's about creating, not just helping the one person, but think about how do you create a chain reaction. Thank you for that. This is great.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And it's it adds up to 7 on the domino.
I see that. There's a 5 on top and a 2 on bottom, I guess, depending how you look at it.
7 and 8 are my lucky numbers.
Are they?
So I had to pick a domino that was either 7 or 8 for you.
Well, I like the number 7, so that's perfect. Yeah, Tori's so good. And I will cherish this. I got to find a good place to put it. I might live in the studio for a little while. I like when we have great owners on, which is every single guest we have, I like putting it for a little while just to kind of give folks a little bit of something about the person that we was on here. At least they kind of make a rotation behind here for people who watch. But I also don't want anybody to snatch it up. So we'll see.
Well, I would encourage you to keep it in your pocket.
Okay.
And that way, every time you reach in your pocket, maybe for your keys or wallet or phone, just your hand brushing up against a domino is going to remind you every time that happens to look for ways to make a positive impact. You naturally do that already.
Well, we can all use a reminder.
That will be the reminder of the positive impact that you continue to have. I appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
My domino is just a little thank you in that. And I told you it was a small gift.
No, it's great. And for folks who can see it, it's a blue 5 and these are both my great blue 5 and green 2. These are also the colors of my wife's and I's eyeballs if y'all want to get creepy with me for a second, because that's weird, but it's cool. It's why 2 colors I enjoy the most. Tori, you're awesome. Really, I could talk to you for another 7 hours. I'm going to put it in my pocket right now so I don't forget to, but yeah, I'll say this as we close out. Like, I always enjoy the combos I have with the folks who sit in that chair. I will tell you though, if there's no example of somebody who gets thrusted into something out of necessity and can still find a way to win and still find a way to do it the right way and take care of people along the way, your story is action-packed, full of those examples. And I think that's why I gravitated towards you over some breakfast tacos pretty quick. I just realized this is a good human. So thanks for all you do. Keep doing your thing. We'll be rooting for you over here. And it sounds like my wife and I need to go find our way over to Spa Luxe and see how you guys do business over there. I think the part I'm probably worried about is that it's going to ruin other experiences down the road. So we might be resetting a new bar. But thanks for coming in today. We appreciate the words, and thanks for being you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. And, I can't close out without telling you that Spa Luxe is coming to Austin, so you won't have to travel that far.
That's what I hear. When can we expect it to be live and up?
So 3 weeks.
Okay.
3 weeks, November 1st.
Where are y'all located? Where are y'all going to be located? Just for the people who are listening right now.
Sure. In the Grove here in Austin. So
great spot.
Oh yeah. So 45th and Mopac. It's great location. We're acquiring an existing spa. We're super, super excited. Great people there, and they I know that they will latch on to the Spa Luxe experience and make it unique to Austin. So I'm excited. So you won't have to travel far.
I love it. Well, we're gonna I'll put 3 weeks on the calendar and we'll go keep in touch and we'll celebrate y'all. So thank you, Tori, for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the American Operator Podcast, where we celebrate the backbone of America, small business owners and operators like you. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you'll never miss out on more of these stories and insights from people who keep our community strong. Until next time, keep building, keep operating, and keep America moving forward.